Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Atto Aesthetics, the #1 coaching company for aesthetic professionals wanting to step into the role of spa CEO. And today I'm interviewing someone who I was inspired by. Her name is Shirin, and I was actually interviewing her at Mango Meet, which is the annual team conference that Mango Mint puts on each year. So they had invited me to host a panel of their clients, and I just fell in love with Shirin's energy, motivation, and mindset. So I asked her right away to be on the podcast, and she graciously agreed. So let me just do a quick read of her bio, and then we'll jump right in. So Shirin was born in Iran and is now a resident of Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's been passionate and dedicated professional in the hair industry for nearly 20 years. In the first decade of her career, Shirin experienced burnout, leading her to exit the industry due to a sense of misalignment. However, in 2018, she made a triumphant return, armed with a newfound commitment to authenticity, both in herself and her business. Shirin is not only the owner of a commission-based salon, but also manages salon suites that she rents to independent artists. Her entrepreneurial spirit has also led her to become a curly hair educator and sought-after business coach, helping clients and stylists embrace their authenticity. Shirin's expertise and innovation in the world of haircare have been recognized by Read Curl magazine, where she served as a panelist, sharing her knowledge and insights. Her remarkable journey from burnout to rediscovery is a testament to her resilience and a driving force behind her success. With a deep commitment to her craft and a dedication to helping others thrive in the industry, Shirin Zakerion continues to make a significant impact in the world of hair and beauty. Beautifully written. All right, I hope that you're inspired by Shirin. I love her story. I love her mindset. So enjoy this episode. All right, Shirin, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I really appreciate you having me here. It's really an honor. I'm very unexpected because I'm not in your same. I mean, we're in the same.
We're
sphere,
cousins.
Right? We're in the same universe. We're just kind of orbiting each other as a salon owner. But I'm excited to kind of talk about how they play off each other.
So we met at Mango Meet, which is the kind of internal conference that Mango Mint puts on for their team, and you have been a long-term client of theirs, and they brought you there to kind of share your story. And I was there to host the panel. So just want to give everybody that background. And in that process, I got to learn a lot about you and your business and things that you're doing differently. And I said there, like salons and spa, we are kind of cousins. It is that like same arena, but like there's still a lot of the marketing strategies oftentimes are different. The way that we're pricing things are different. The types of events and the frequency or cadence that we see our clients is a bit different, but there still are a lot of similarities. And when you were talking about how you built your business and why you built your business and what that meant and all of the different pieces, it just really stood out to me as like such an inspiring story from someone with an incredible mindset. And I think regardless of the industry you're in, even if you were, opening shoe stores, your mindset is such a key piece. So for our listeners that are not familiar with your business, with you, can you just start wherever you want to start, but tell us like, how did you get into this industry in the first place? Did you always know that you wanted your own salon? Were you, what was that journey like for you?
So I always knew I wanted to do hair. Ever since I was a child, I always knew that. My dad actually reminded me not too long ago that I used to have just, nail polish and makeup and barrettes, and he would nap and I would just make him up and he'd wake up and he would just be glamorous.
Now that's a good dad.
Yes, he loved it. And he was always really supportive of that. But I was a first generation immigrant. My parents really genuinely did not want me to do hair. They brought me to America so I could go to college and get more than likely become a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. That was kind of
Yes.
my options in life, So me coming to them and saying, this is what I want to do was just not an option. So I did try college for a couple of years, excuse me. And it still was just not my thing. I could not just sit in a desk and learn. And I had already done that for most of my life. And I was just ready to just get out there and do things. My parents have always owned a restaurant, and I started working there when I was 12. So I had already learned customer service skills at a really young age. And I was
And
ready to go.
entrepreneurship though, too. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I remember when my parents opened their restaurant, they said, don't tell anyone how old you are. I always looked older. And so if someone asked, I would say 15. They opened in summer. So I was the server and I helped my dad every day. And it was amazing. Yeah. He would give me $20 and I would take home tips. And by the time I was 16, I had $2,500 to pay in cash for my own car. It really taught me a lot about just earnership and customer
work ethic.
service, work ethic, consistency. So when I talk to people about they say like, how do you know what you know? Or how do you have this mindset? It's really just that I've been practicing it for a long time. So I am already trying to teach my kids that. I think that's
That was going to be my next question is how do you, and especially like once you've reached a certain level of success um, in entrepreneurship, which, you clearly have, your kids don't want for things in the same way that maybe we wanted for things when we were growing up. And as a parent, you want to like really, you don't want your kids ever to suffer, but you also want to teach them work ethic. You want to teach them integrity. You want to teach them support, like all of these things. So I find that, I know it's a little bit of sidetrack, but I find it as a really interesting for entrepreneurial moms. Like, how are we teaching our kids these incredible skills that have helped to make us so successful?
Yeah, it's really in alignment again with what you posted this week as your talk in your group about mom guilt. I used to really before I did my emotional intelligence coaching, that was kind of my pilot, was my mom guilt. And it was a huge revelation for me when I realized that it was not very emotionally intelligent to let mom guilt steer my life. And so just having that switch and realizing that really everything I'm doing is a gift to them because it was a gift to me and it is generational. We're passing it on. So, one of my favorite quotes is no one's coming to save you. And that's just kind of what I want to teach my kids is like, don't wait for someone else to create your success or like what you want to build. You have to do it yourself. So, I went to cosmetology school on my own dime because my parents didn't support it. I did that. And I went out of state, came back here, hoping to build with my community that I had, people I knew from school, my relatives, and all of that. And I started as an assistant. I did that for about 6 months. And there was a massive walkout in my commission salon. And it really just threw me for a loop as a new stylist because I thought these are the people I look up to. If they're leaving, there must be a reason. So I left. I went to a booth rental salon and I worked with a lot of older people. They were probably in their 40s and 50s when I was in my early 20s. I was the youngest one there. So they handed me a lot of clientele and they taught me a lot. And I'm really thankful for that. But there came a point where I had outgrown that space, which is normal. And I think it's not normal to not do that, So it was time for me to go. And I went and I opened a suite. That was an interesting experience. We'll fast forward a little bit, but I did that for a little while. And then I ended up getting burnt out. I left the industry for 2 years when I had my first son in 2015. During that time, I did online retail and I had a side business that really expanded and blew up. We developed an app for users similar to me that sell online and through Facebook and grew a huge, massive following of, at one point it was 40,000 users and grossed $1 million in 1 year. That was completely unexpected. But it taught me a lot. And what it taught me was to look for the problems. And that's kind of where I am today. So that period of my life was I was still struggling a lot with emotional intelligence and mindset. I ended up leaving my retail business and going back to doing hair. And that was probably a little reactive.
Tell me, I want to dig into this finding the problems, because you have a really interesting niche with your salon and you're very clear on who your ideal client is and who you serve. Did that come out of your own need for what you wish existed for you? Or did that come out of trying to find the problems? Because I know we always try and solve our own, like, what do I wish existed out there? What do I wish was there for me?
When I left my booth rental salon and I went to a suite, that was my first kind of problem solving. I wanted to create a really high end, very customized and automated, advanced client experience that wasn't really being welcomed or fostered in my booth rental situation. And I was one of the first ones to go to a suite in my city. And so in there, I did that. I worked a lot with hair extensions, which again was solution based, right? So I worked with clients that had a problem and I wanted to help them. And a lot of it stemmed from my own, I have low density hair and I wanted long hair. And so I went and sought that and I brought it to the market. And then
what does low density hair mean for us not salon people?
Just like thinner. It's not like long, thick, luscious hair. And I never had that. I wanted that. So I went to learn how to do it. And then I brought it back to my market because it wasn't something people were doing.
I never noticed that, because when I saw you, your hair is so curly that it looked full and thick.
Yeah. And that was kind of the start of it. I was burnt out from wearing extensions. I was burnt out with working with extension clientele. They have this is a broad generalization, not everyone, but they have a level of expectation because their investment is so high. Mm-hmm. And delivering that was it was wearing. So, and the work was tedious. You're working with really small pieces. And so I was burnt out. So when I came back, and having a son, I really started to just think about, my personal presentation, like how I looked and how I wanted to, what kind of message I wanted to give him as a man, a boy, about, female autonomy, about how they look. So I went and took a curly hair class. And it really was because my sister had been wearing her hair naturally for so many years. And she said, go take this class. It's coming to our city. I will pay for it just so you can cut my hair. I said, no, I need to go learn about my own hair anyway. Mm-hmm. So I went, and it was just mind blowing to see that person's transformation during the class, the model that we had, just see her so excited to see her curly hair that way. It really inspired me. I went back home. I tried 3 different times to go natural myself, and I would go back to straightening my hair.
What is the problem for, I don't have curly hair. I don't understand why can't you wear your hair naturally curly?
I don't think that it's necessarily a problem as much as it's not the normal societal standard of beauty. We have a very narrow mindset of just long, straight hair is ideal. And I think that I'm very careful when I talk about curly hair because I think every curly hair type is beautiful. So whether it's defined or frizzy, it's beautiful. But I think empowering someone who has curly hair with how to get it more defined, how to get more longevity out of it, what products to choose, why you're choosing the products that you're choosing, which is what I teach now, and my team does as well. I think that's where the power was. Mm-hmm. So that's what I saw. I went and tried it myself. I think for me, I was triggered a lot emotionally about people saying things about my hair. And, we talked earlier, we started this conversation with me deciding to do something different in my area. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't really look like most people here. I never did. Moving to my parents deciding to leave Iran to come to Tulsa, Oklahoma was, that was a huge difference. And so people looked at me funny. They said things to me. They would mention my arm hair, my facial hair, and things like that. So it was triggering. There's a lot of emotion behind it. And I think a lot of curly haired people feel the same way. We can always remember someone telling us we had poodle hair or nappy hair. And these are all really derogatory ways of referring to someone's hair. I mean, we have, just like you all have terminology that you're educated and you use properly when you're discussing someone's skin.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we should refer to hair. You know, your hair's texture is a silkier texture. It's a bumpier texture. It's more coily, less coily. And so all that to say, that inspired me. I started doing one curly client, and then it was like a faucet. All of their friends came, and one of them called me out. She said, "Why aren't you wearing your hair curly?" And I said, "Okay, I really got to do this." So I worked through kind of my pain that I had attached to my hair. Finally started wearing it naturally, and it was just me. And things got really busy because there was this huge market in my city, and no one was doing this service. So that was when I decided, okay, I either need to expand or, increase my price, because there's just, the demand was so much that I couldn't handle it and I needed to reduce some of the market. And so I tried to build a team. And for the first couple of years, it was really a struggle, because if you don't know how to lead, it's not something you've ever done. It's a whole new skill set. And
Oh, absolutely. Leadership is a skill. Entrepreneurship is a skill. And I find so often in spa, and I imagine it's similar in salon, but in spa, when someone goes, we have a similar path where you're a solo esthetician, you start doing really well, you want to expand, you go to a storefront, you build out a team, and then your team turns over 2, 3, 4, 5 times before you find your people, because knowing internally for you how to hustle, how to communicate all of these things about getting clients and serving clients and all of that. Oftentimes we don't know how to effectively communicate our core values, our beliefs, our expectations to others. And often we're so busy, we just want to bring someone in, fix it, fix the problem, but they have no idea what your vision is, And so that is exactly, well, I know in spa, it happens a lot where it's that pain point in getting to the next level of business.
And I think in our industries, there's a lot of antiquated practices that we do, and we don't really know why we're doing them, but someone along the way taught us, and maybe we saw our previous boss or salon owner or spa owner do it. And so we think that that's how it should be done. And so that's what we duplicate. And that's what I was stuck in, was duplication. And it wasn't until I realized that, I needed to bring in standard business practices from the business world
Mm-hmm.
that are proven, that work in human psychology, that are not bad, they're not evil. I think there's that whole thing too in our industry that, like, if there's structure, if a boss tries to tell you what to do or how to do it, that there's some kind of that's bad, but it works. And humans thrive on structure. They need guidance. They want a protocol. They don't want to just be set free. That creates chaos in our business. So I think that modernizing my business and my mindset really was what changed everything for me. And the curly hair was just like an aspect of it.
I want to give some other examples, because I remember some things that you were talking about that I thought were really incredible. And I was like, that's never happened to me at my hair salon. So is it through forms, or how are you connecting with, so before your clients come in, they have some sort of survey that they're filling out or some sort of questionnaire. It's like, do you want tea or water? Do you want the mirror cover? Do you want, I don't remember all the questions that you're asking, but they were all these just really brilliant, like, no one's ever done a full hair consultation with me. No one's ever asked if I want tea before I go in. No one's ever asked, all of these different types of things. So in addition to having a niche market of, hey, I'm going to focus on serving clients with curly hair. And the piece that I want to really highlight, because you had brought this up at the talk, you said, rather than looking around and saying, not everybody looks like me here. There's nobody serving people with curly hair. That must mean it doesn't work. You said, no, this is a great opportunity for me to take advantage of serving a demographic of individuals with curly hair to be able to build an incredible business.
Yeah. So, something that really, where it all started for me was my awareness of my own bias when it comes to race and inclusivity. And I realized that me only knowing how to work on one canvas of hair was really not okay. And how could I truly call myself a hairstylist?
You mean you only knew how to work on hair like mine?
Yeah, it would be, for example, in your line of work, only knowing how to treat someone. I think it's like the Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, the Fitzpatrick scale. So we just say skin of color. There's a variety, and it is a very there's education around it because Asians have different skin, African Americans have different skin, like whether they keloid more, whether they hyperpigment more. There's all kinds of different aspects that we need to understand.
Right? So I felt convicted that I couldn't call myself a hairstylist if I didn't know how to just really greet anyone that sat in my chair. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about application because I don't do braiding. I don't do any of that. But what I can do is no matter what someone's hair texture is, whether it's curl type, whether it's loose to all the way to a tight coil or a zigzag, I know how to serve them. Mm-hmm. So with that said, we really focus on, and with you and I really are super fans of Mango Mint. And I sought out a software that could help me do this, which is why I ended up with Mango Mint, is that we can really customize the service to the person, right? Instead of just trying to have a service and then hopefully it fits everyone, is more like just customizing it to that person. So we ask them with a form prior to their appointment, just kind of if they have allergies, if they have any kind of religious accommodation that they might need. We have a private suite for those people, any kind of pronouns that they might, that they want used during their service, or their child or whoever they're coming with, what they want to eat, what they want to drink. We also present our terms of service. So our terms and conditions. So we say, this is what we expect in our salon. This is what we expect from you, but this is what also you can expect from us. Because I think it goes both ways. So a lot of times people put those policies out there, but they're very like, don't do this to me, as opposed to, if we do this, this is what you should expect. So if we cancel your appointment, this is what you're going to expect from us. And to me, those are so preventative. I think that is where proactivity comes in, right? And mindset. We go back to emotional intelligence, is that I don't want to use my cancellation policy. So I make it so that it's so clear every step of the way that I never have to use it. And that I only have clients that are really invested in working with us. So we love utilizing the forms. And even when they come in, we have a QR code at our station that takes them to a salon app that they can, once again, if they didn't give us that information, they can go back in and give it again. If they would like, we keep that on file, again, through Mango Mint. We utilize that a lot. And then we also have a follow-up sequence that we use via Mango Mint with a couple little webhooks, which is something that now I'm working with Mango Mint to customize for other businesses, because they were so impressed with our follow-up program that they kind of wanted to learn more about that and how we can customize.
Tell me about that, because I was trying to explain to our Growth Factor members, I'm like, this gal Shirin, like she has this incredible process. Tell me about that, your follow-up process.
Okay, so our follow-up process is really unique. We have a built-in form that our stylists use, and the form asks a series of questions. It autofills the name and the phone number, that was a huge part of why I chose Mango Mint, was because I had this customization opportunity. We talk about opportunities, and because when you're structuring your business, you need your employees to have as few steps as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If something is hard, they are not going to do it. So it has to be very easy. And originally, I'd been using a third party forms company app, and they had to go in and they had to copy and paste the email. So sometimes it wasn't right. Sometimes they wouldn't do it. So I needed something that would autofill. Mangomit did that. So then I would customize the question. So, like, what products did you use? What service did you give them?
And this is your provider is filling this out, or your stylist. Okay.
Yep. They're filling it out, and then it will auto generate a very customized email. So at the very end, it says fill out a personalized email, a personalized message for your client. So that way it doesn't look as scripted.
Mm-hmm.
It would say something like, have so much fun on your cruise, or, good luck on graduation, or, whatever was going on in that person's life. That would be the last message that they see. And then 3 days later, it triggers a follow-up. So, hey, how's your hair doing? It's really simple. If you have any questions, send me a text message. And it's through Mangomit, because they have a text message feature. They can text us and ask us questions if they need troubleshooting. They just feel like they have a direct line of conversation with us. And we have a virtual assistant that works with us, that she answers overnight her time because she's overseas, and then we answer in the daytime. So there's always someone there to talk to our clients and make sure that they feel taken care of. So yeah, that whole process, we now duplicate that and customize for Mangomit clients, just so they can have a more personalized, nurtured experience.
So is the email, you fill out the form, it's auto-generated. Is that through your email service provider, or is that through a Mangomit? It's through like a MailChimp or a Klaviyo.
Exactly.
Or okay.
Exactly.
And does it matter which one? Or
so I'm kind of the brains behind, so I kind of create the org chart, so to speak, for these individual businesses. And then my husband does the implementation because he's a software developer by trade. So he can learn most of them. We've learned with Mangomit, there's a couple preferred choices. One would be MailChimp. And that's why Mangomit has a direct integration with them. I think they realize that they work really well together. Klaviyo is a little bit tough. There's, I think there's Bravo, and there's a couple other ones as well.
Well, that's cool. That for me was such a high touch way to automate a follow-up and automate, making your clients feel seen, heard, valued, and having, without having to have a provider sit down for 30 minutes, at the end of a shift to follow up.
Yeah, because, one of the things that I like to do in my business is make sure that my stylists have as much free time as possible to do what they need to do. And so I don't have to pay them for doing 30 minutes worth of tasks, so it's just being able to automate as much as you can in your business to modernize it. I think our specific client base really appreciates that automation. They love being able to go online and book anytime. They love being able to cancel their own appointments, reschedule their own appointments, text message us at any time. And I think that also was a competitive edge that I had. That was something that I always looked to. And if I wasn't a hairstylist, I would be in tech. That I always had tech integrated in my business in a way that was really unique, that no other stylist was doing. So all that to say, in the future, kind of something that I've already done that with the textured hair genre, because I thought, here I am, every salon is serving straight hair, but there's no salons that only do curly hair. And so that's where that started. But now we are actually bringing in the head spa service. And we'll be
yes, I remember you mentioning this. That's so cool. Yeah,
we'll be the first head spa service in our city. So I ordered the beds just like you see on TikTok, and this is a kind of a new trend in the United States. So we're building our own curriculum and our own kind of protocols and things like that. But again, it was one of those things that I'm always seeking out, like, what are other people doing? What are other countries doing?
Well,
what's
in
unique
spa,
that no one else is doing?
You see a lot of microneedling with PRP or injection of PRP, and even hydrofacial came out with like a a hair treatment. So there's these kind of bridges between, the salon world and the spa world, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. And I think it's important to stay in alignment with what you're doing, right? So there's been a lot of times where I thought maybe I should bring spa services in, like nails or waxing. And I just always went back to no.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we do best. That's not what we know. But this, like you said, is kind of a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough knowledge of petrissage and effleurage and all those things where we can cover a scalp massage. It's something we're doing anyway. And I think it complements our specific niche because curly girls, they don't wash their hair as much and the oil on their scalp doesn't move as freely down their hair. And so sometimes there is a buildup. So it really is a complement to my business. I think that's a really important thing to think about when you're structuring your business and when you are thinking about your what's next is this in alignment? And I think that was what was the biggest change for me is instead of trying to duplicate what other people were doing, saying what works for me, what speaks to my soul, and who do I want to serve every day? Because that was the thing. My previous job, I was just so drained because it wasn't energizing me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are big believers in building a business around the life you want to live. We are not living to work. It's our family, our whatever you hold as the highest priority, your work. You don't want to work for 50 years and look back and be like, I wish I would have worked a little bit more. I love what I do. I know you love what you do. I'm very driven. I'm very focused, but it will never be more important than my core group of people in my life.
Yeah. And I think you can apply that to your business.
100%.
Are the services I'm doing feeling that way? Are the employees I have, do I feel that way about them? Are they bringing me peace or are they tormenting my thoughts all the time? And if they are, maybe reconsider what you're doing and how you're doing it and do it your own way. Cause I think that's what I coach to is your point of difference. What's your point of difference? What are you bringing to the table that nobody else? And I'm actually in a business accelerator locally that my city put together. And it was a free course. It's 10 weeks at the local college. And there was this guy that owns a commercial cleaning business that sits next to me. And he raised his hand and he said, I really want to raise my prices. And I said, and the professor said, okay, well, what does everyone think about that? And I said, well, I think, what's your point of difference? Because if you arbitrarily want to raise your prices without added value, your client's not going to see that. They're going to go price shop. If they can get the same thing for cheaper somewhere else, they will. So you have to kind of look for the ways that you can be different that, so for me, it's just like checking in with the client before they come, after they're finished. We have feedback checkpoints galore. So those are very nuanced. What was your least favorite part of the service? We have a list. What was your most favorite part? We have a list so that I can go back and aggregate all that information and kind of narrow it down. Okay, we clearly need to revisit our check-in process so
it's what you're really doing is analyzing customer experience with data and refining and improving customer experience, which ultimately is the thing that's going to make you, that's what keeps people loyal. That's what keeps people coming back is their experience.
Yeah. And just that they feel heard and seen and valued, like you talked about. And something that I learned during my mindset and EQ coaching is that you have to run your life on facts, not feelings. So having that data is so important because it really helps you steer in the right direction and make powerful decisions that are important. And that align with you, because if otherwise you're basing it off feelings and that's never going to get you where you want to go.
I love that. So where can our listeners find you, follow you, connect with you? I don't know I know people are going to want to know about this webhooks thing because we've got a lot of Mango Mint users also. So what are the best places if anyone wants to get in touch with you for either of those two things?
Yeah. So I would just start with going to my Instagram or my website. Website's hightcurlfriend.com. And then that's also my Instagram handle. And there's a link tree there that has all the information that you could possibly need. So
wonderful. And we'll link that up below this video, below this episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I love sharing inspiring stories. I love people that I believe personally, everything after 100,000 is mindset. And I think, you've got to have a proof of concept, but your mindset is, can I solve this problem? Can I address this? That's going to push you into the multi-six figures, into the 7, into the 8. It's how much can I grow, expand? How much can I handle? That's all. It's mindset work. Because then you have to learn the strategy, obviously. But if you have the ability to say, I can do this, then the sky's the limit. So
absolutely. And when you think for a second, if you see something and you think, oh, I can't do that, you just need to do it. That is literally the opposite. Whatever your ego says, you do the opposite. That's where I've gotten where I am today. Is I don't let that steer me in any wrong direction. I go for it, and really just being able to count on yourself. If you are someone that at the end of the day, you're going to do what it takes to make sure that you survive and that your business is thriving, you'll be okay. Just make that hard choice and go for it, because there's a whole clientele waiting for you that isn't being served. So definitely do it. Yep.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate your time. Everybody check out Shirin, and we'll catch you on the next episode.